Okay, everyone, I think we've got audio, but I'm using a different mic. Can you guys all let me know in the chat section whether you can hear me or not, because we're having a few tech issues, and which I'm sure I can figure out for next time. But I'm concerned that the audio, even with the workaround that I've got going on here, may not be doing what we want it to. So make sure you let me know in the chat, guys, whether you can make sure that you can. Yeah, you need to be able to hear me to be able to for us to proceed. So I'm just waiting for you guys in the chat to let us know. If you're watching a replay of this, sorry about the funny start. Hearing you fine. Okay, excellent. There we go. We can be heard. I don't think the audio is going to be great. I'm actually using the webcam mic, and usually I'm using this lapel, but for some reason I'm not getting any audio through the lapel. I might just have a quick look here to see if maybe there's a challenge to what I've got going on here, and we'll see if there's a way to fix what we've been having problems. I won't spend too much time on this, everyone. It's okay. Properties, levels. No, that doesn't fix it. Okay. So, without any further ado, welcome to Voice Essentials, where when you're live, anything can happen. This is a bit of a crazy one. But of course we hang out here every week, and I even have to, because of my tech issues, I even bumped it back an hour. Thanks for joining in. Sorry about the all of the wrong notifications that might have come your way. We're not usually this disorganized, but you know, I am a one man show / team, and you know, trying to figure things out as we go. If you're new to Voice Essentials, welcome. We are a ever-growing community of singers from across the globe who, just like you, want to raise their voice in song. We do that live every week here, and I've got everything's happening. Notifications coming through, and it's all happening. We are talking about the subject of when do you know it's time. Today we're talking about the subject, when do you know it's time to go to a private singing lesson. You know, because at the end of the day, YouTube can't be your singing teacher in the way a real singing teacher can be, and we're going to talk about that today. Before we get going, I do want to just draw your attention to the fact that we now have moderators on as a part of our live chat, and I contacted a couple of people during the week. Last week, I don't know if you noticed, if you were a part of the live chat, last week our live stream was just going berserk, and it became very apparent to me that I actually can't keep up with it all and can't moderate while I'm doing our live hangout. And because I want to set this up as a safe, encouraging community, I want to make sure that any, you know, unruly personalities who might want to troll our live hangout can be quickly attended to, and to do that we need to have a couple of moderators, and I might actually populate it with a couple more in as the time goes on. And I mean, at the moment we haven't actually had anyone troll us, but the realities of live hangouts are you do have, you know, people who have no interest in singing whatsoever. You know, at some point in the future, we'll have it. Well, someone will jump in and start leaving expletives and, you know, abusive language and those sorts of things. That's not the sort of space we've created here, and I want it to be a really good place for us to all come. And so I have asked Karen from Singwise Vocals, who has her own channel, her own singing teaching channel, someone who I respect and knows what this whole singing thing is about. I've asked her to moderate. And I've asked one of my students, Linda. Many of you will have seen Linda's name pop up, Linda Dalton. She's one of my adult students, and so I've asked her to moderate as well. These are both women who I respect and am able to expect that they'll know when to moderate. They're not there to censor, in the sense that we want you to ask your questions, they're really there to look out for those, you'll know as well, I think, when you see those particular people jump in and start trolling our Hangout. We don't need that kind of thing here at Voice Essentials. We want the discussion to be really flowing. We want the language to be, complimentary and encouraging. We want you to ask your questions. I have asked the ladies they're not there to answer your questions. I don't want to put pressure on them to have knowledge that you would expect me to have. However, we know that Karen has a lot of knowledge from SingWise. But equally, if you want to ask Karen a question directly, you can always do that via her channel, and I'd encourage you to jump over and have a watch. Okay, so with that all being said, let's get into today's discussion, and I'm just jumping over here, and we'll get into today's topic right after this.
Sound check. Check 1, check 2.
Okay, so when do you know that it's time to start singing lessons? We hang out here together on YouTube because firstly we're creating a community that is supportive and collectively encouraging. And, as you already know, I've got we're approaching 300 videos on my channel of, information that covers a whole range of subject matter in regards to singing. It started off for me as an opportunity to value add to my private clients, my private students, because I can't cover all the information that is necessary in a private lesson. And that needs to be stated. Singing lessons are not everything either. So I was wanting to create these videos that I could say, oh yeah, okay, well we don't have time to talk about that particular thing today in your private singing lesson, but why don't you jump across onto the YouTube channel? In fact, I've got them all embedded on my website. Why don't you jump across to the website, check out that subject matter, and sometimes I would send them a link. It soon became apparent to me that this YouTube thing was bigger than just my private studio, and that a lot of people were starting to watch my YouTube videos and starting to comment and benefit. And I also saw it as an opportunity to service those people who, may not have the dollars to afford private lessons with me or with someone else. As that time progressed, it also then became apparent that people were starting to use YouTube, and as I started to learn more about the YouTube platform, it became apparent to me that people have fallen into the trap of thinking that YouTube can be the be-all and end-all of your learning to sing journey. And I need to say, I don't believe that is the case. Now, there are some of us here as a part of the Voice Essentials community, and here, in the wider YouTube Learn to Sing space, that don't have the money to afford private tuition, and I get that, and so what I'm about to say is not targeted at people who can't afford lessons, but there are people who can afford lessons, whether it be time or money, that can be afforded, but try to use YouTube as their one-stop shop when it comes to learning. I had an interaction with a student, a subscriber here on the channel recently, where I did have to say, hey, look, I think you've reached that point in your development where for you to move forward, you are actually going to need one-on-one singing lessons. Their questions have become quite detailed, and it's really, I think we've hit that ceiling, that point at which it's time. It's time for that person to spend the dollars, invest into their craft, invest into their voice with some private tuition. And sometimes that might be one lesson, sometimes that might be 10 lessons. Everyone's journey is different. I am often asked, how many lessons is it, will I need? Really, for you to establish a solid foundational technique, you do need anywhere between 18 months to 2 years of regular, in private, one-on-one instruction. Now some of you, I can almost hear the screaming through the screen at me. This is not an upsell to my individual lessons. And rest assured, I am going to continue in the new year. I am going to be putting more videos up onto the channel for you. I want to support your journey as you learn to sing and your vocal development. I am going to continue to do that. But for everyone, there comes a point where the channel will continue to support you, but equally there comes a point where stepping into that private space is of great benefit and will really take you to the next level of your learning to sing journey. When do you know when it's time to do that? Well, you suddenly start realizing, hey, am I doing this thing that Dr. Dan's getting me to do? How do I, and you're doing it, but how do you know you're getting it absolutely right? Some of the beginner exercises, not a big deal. The instruction will help you, and in fact, downloading my exercise CD will help you. In fact, I've just realized I don't have the chat up, everyone. Let me throw the chat up so that everyone can see the chat. There you are. You're all there. How do you know that, that it's all, that's where we're up to. Sorry, I got sidetracked. When you get to that point where you're going, the beginning exercises, you've done those or whatever, we're starting to get into more complex space where really, and so look, some of these, I do my best on the channel at times, and we're covering a very complex space this Wednesday with the pre-record video, which I encourage you all to watch. And it will be, it's looking at harmonics and formants. And I'm very excited because the script for that video was reviewed by one of the world's leading authors in this subject, Kenneth Bozeman, and he reviewed the script and gave it the green light. And so I want you to have a look at this video. It deep dives into a really tricky subject, and they're the subjects where you really do need that person to diagnose and correct and reflect back to you, hey, this is what you're doing right, this is what you're doing wrong. As technology stands, YouTube cannot, and I went to say will not, let's be careful, technology is moving at quite the pace. Right now, singing teachers haven't been done out of a job. We don't have AI that can correct the way you're creating your sound and developing your shapes and formants and all those sorts of things. And so you need to be ready to recognize when you've reached that spot in your own development. And for many of you, you may have already reached that spot. I'm not going to ascertain when you have or haven't, outside of, if I say to you on the channel, in the comments section when we're interacting online, and many of you leave so many wonderful comments underneath the videos, when you are saying that, when you get, I generally am able to determine in the questions that are being asked and what have you, hey, look, I think you've reached that point. So please, if I say that to you in the comments, don't take that as offense. That should be really encouraging to you. Hey, I've got to a point where I now need to invest further into the development of my voice. I need to seek out a singing teacher, a qualified singing teacher who I can trust. And if you choose that to be me, I would be privileged to work with you online. And I do teach lessons online to students all over the world. So certainly we can do that. But equally, I would think it would be fantastic if you found a local singing teacher in your local community that you can step into their studio and have those private lessons, at a price point that you can afford. At the end of the day, I just want to see you develop to the best of your ability. And I know that whilst YouTube plays a role, it plays a part, the videos can only do so much. They only value add to your development. They're not the be-all and end-all. I don't know whether that's a surprise to you guys to hear me say all of this. Hopefully it isn't. I think to date I have made it very clear that private singing lessons are still the gold standard of vocal development. I believe that wholeheartedly. Look, I know that many universities have moved their singing students across to group sessions, and I still don't believe that that's the best way. I think the gold standard of good voice development, good voice lessons is one-on-one private instruction, because every voice is so unique, and the moment you step away from that individualized instruction, you have to step out to something more generalized, as we do here on YouTube. The information, in fact, I think I've got it in the disclaimer below, the information I provide is general in nature. It cannot specifically, in some cases, target your voice. How do you guys feel about that? Let me know in the chat section. And of course, if you're watching this video in replay, then let me know in the comments section, you know, how that makes you feel. I hope it encourages you. I hope it doesn't discourage you and suggest to you that, you know, what we do here together on Voice Essentials is of no consequence. That is not the truth, which is why I'm going to be making more videos in the new year. We're going to 3 a week. And all things being equal, it'll go just fine. But I thought it was just out of that question that came to me from one of our subscribers last week. I thought it was a worthy topic, something to be said, something to be noted, and yeah. So let's, I think we should get over to some Q&A. Let me just prep up all of our bumpers for that. So let's come back. We'll come back to Q&A straight after this. Did that fix it? Linda, I owe you $2. Is that fixed it? I hope that's fixed it, everyone. I hope he sees it. I've seen it, everyone. Has that fixed it? Yes. So sorry. It's the computer software that I use, and hopefully I did see the super chat. Thank you, Linda. As I said, I owe you $2. Fixed. That's good. Coming back up here, are there questions? All you could hear was music. What a pain that is. Sorry, everyone. Missed all of your Q&A. We're coming down here. So I don't know what you guys missed. Did you hear me talk about the associations and all that? Maybe you didn't. We talked the places to find your... Let me know if you could hear me. Well, hasn't this just been the most wonderful live hangout that we've ever done? I wish I could relive... I know what you're doing. Oh, dear. This one will go down. Just love you. Thank you, Angie. That's very kind. As this... I just want to make sure... You missed all of it after the bumper. Wowzers. I was going on forever. That's terrible. Okay, so the question had been asked, how do I find an instructor? I'm going to quickly go over it again. You can either find an instructor by word of mouth, a good singing teacher. You know, word of mouth is not probably the best way to do it, but certainly it's a way. I was saying that now I'm going to be repeating myself and sound like I'm hearing myself again. But when I ask a mate, you know, do you know a good mechanic? And just because my mate says, oh yeah, use my mechanic, he's great. Well, my mate's probably an accountant and doesn't know anything about mechanics anyway. It's a bit like finding a good singing teacher by word of mouth. It doesn't, just because your friend doesn't, you know, has them as a singing teacher, doesn't necessarily mean that they're a great singing teacher, but it's a good place to start. The second place is you can go to a place called, we have national associations. So in America, you have the National Association for Teachers of Singing called NATS. In England, it's the BVA, the British Voice Association. In Australia, it's ANATS, the Australian National Association for Teachers of Singing. And these are professional associations. When people belong to these groups, at the very least, you can expect that they are interested in associating themselves with professional development and are keen to consider themselves a professional singing teacher, as opposed to just some guy who hangs a shingle and calls themselves a singing teacher, and you kind of got no way of knowing that they're really the real deal. So that's another way. The other way is you Google, and a lot of people find me via Google. You know, I mean, again, there's no sure method to finding the best singing teacher in the world via any of these modes, but nonetheless, a Google search, have a look at their website, have a look at their online presence. Maybe they've got a YouTube channel like myself, and you can go and you can say, oh, this person might be a person I want to interact with. And so it's, you know, you just have to do your homework to find a really good singing teacher that you will resonate with. And this is something that I say to people often. You know, not every singing teacher, even if they are a great singing teacher, not every singing teacher is perfectly suited to every singer. And to think that, you know, if I was a singing teacher that thought that I could benefit every single student on the planet, then I'm a narcissist. You know, I've got a God complex that needs to be put in check. You can't. It's not possible for me to please all the people all the time. My job is to develop my teaching craft to service as many people as I can, but there are times where you're not going to resonate with that particular person. That's okay. And so that doesn't necessarily mean they're a bad singing teacher. It just means there might be a personality clash or whatever. So, you know, it's kind of a bit of common sense going on here, that you just need to do that. So 3 things. Look at word of mouth, national professional associations like NATS, ANATS, BVA, or you know, Google. Do your homework. Okay, so your voice is lagging. Yeah, we've got some problems technically today. I think we're just going to have to chalk it up to it's been one of those days, everyone. Okay. The applicants of NATS are reviewed, as to our ANATS. You can't just that's a really great comment. You have to apply to these professional associations. I think it's important, Karen, that we make the point that, you know, because I used to be the national vice president of ANATS, the Australian association. Even with application processes being what they are, it is not a safe, absolute assurance that the singing teacher you're getting is brilliant. It's not, but at the very least it tells you that they've been through some filtering and some process, and that can be a good, certainly a good, it should be a part of your process. And so, for example, on my website, I note that I'm an ANATS member and an AVA member, and you know, these associations do mean something, and hopefully they help to communicate a level, a standard, a professionalism. Because, you know, when people are Googling me, you guys know me, you guys and gals know me, but, you know, when someone from the Brisbane community of 2 million people is Googling for a singing teacher, they probably don't know me from Adam. So I try to communicate a certain standard and a certain professionalism, and hopefully in the websites you interact with, you're able to see that when you're looking for a good singing teacher. Okay. Hui is asking, is singing teacher the only way to know your singing range for sure? It's certainly a very helpful way to do it, Hui. It's not there. I've got a video on the channel that talks you through how to find your singing range, but you know, there is something very beneficial about working with a singing teacher. Here's the other benefit of working with a singing teacher. When you, and I'm going to sort of use a gym workout illustration here. When you are, and I've never pumped weights. I mean, I don't know if you can see, but I'm not a weight builder, power lifter come, you know, person. But I do know that when you work out with a PT, a professional trainer, a personal trainer, that if you're doing weights or if you're doing sets and repetitions, that personal trainer will always push you further than you would have chosen to go yourself. They always take you outside of that limit that you would personally have pulled up at. And that's something that, you know, a singing teacher will do as well. Often in my lessons, if I'm working with a student, I'll go, no, come on, one more, another semitone, another, oh, you've got another 2 tones. Whereas the person, and they'll be rolling their eyes at me going, I don't know that I can do this. And hey, lo and behold, you know, more often than not, the voice goes that extra distance, you know, and whereas the student would have maybe pulled up a tone before. You know, breath management's another good example. I'll often take a student beyond what they personally would have done. You know, having that extrinsic motivator of a teacher can be really helpful, and a PT person will do that with weights and repetitions and all those sorts of things. And so they're stretching you, and they'll stretch you further than you would necessarily stretch yourself. And that's a real benefit to having a singing teacher. So when it comes to singing range and finding your singing range, it can be really helpful to have that person, you know, to externally play the notes and to work you in a particular way. So hopefully that's good. I'm looking down here. We can see I do like that use of emoticon, that electrical lead. We've had some issues today, and I think I'm going to call it quits today, because whilst I think we pulled it back from the brink of absolute disaster, I think we're going to cut our losses. We'll call it a day. We'll regroup. We'll come back next week, and it'll all be good. If you've got any continuing questions, guys, make sure you leave them in the comments section once the video has been processed and goes live for everyone. Well, before we do, actually, I've just seen Telegram Sam's question here. After full practice session, let's say for a solid focused hour of work, can you sing simply for enjoyment later in the day, or should you rest? Sam, that's going to come down to every individual, I think, and you know, I generally encourage my professional students in particular, try to avoid doing really heavy vocal workouts and technical development on the day of a gig. You know, you want to keep your gold medal performance and your voice use for later in the day if you're doing the gig, for when you do the gig. So my advice, Sam, was you kind of got to play it according to your own capacity, your own stamina. But generally speaking, you know, try to hold off doing, you know, a gig, a performance on the same day as doing a vocal workout. I probably should have said that the other way. Hold off doing a vocal workout on the day of doing a vocal performance. Of course, you are going to need to warm up. A 15 to 20 minute warm up is a good thing to do in preparation for a gig, but certainly you wouldn't want it to be an hour workout, because I think that's probably loading the voice a little bit too much, and your voice only has a set budget, and you want to make sure you're not spending your life in credit with that budget, and making sure that you are, you know, working through your vocal loads and vocal pacing. And there's, you know, I think, Sam, you've seen this video, but just to mention for other people, there are videos on the channel about vocal rest and vocal pacing that you can go and check out later at your own discretion. Well, what a crazy kind of hangout we've had today. I dare say, you know, it's not the last time we'll have technical difficulties, and it's not the last time that we'll work our way through it. But again, thanks for being so patient and bearing with it all. You guys are a great bunch. Thanks everyone for sticking with it. I hope to see you all next week when we live hang out again. Don't forget to check out this week's pre-recorded video. I hope you all enjoy it. As I said, we had Kenneth Bozeman has edited that, and well, he just gave it a once over and just gave me the thumbs up for it, so I think you'll really enjoy it. Until I see you all in the next Voice Essentials video, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button, and of course, if, you know, oh, I'm going to get off. I'll see you all, guys. I'll see you all in the next Voice Essentials video. I'm Dr. Dan. Sing well. Goodbye, everyone.